ever put your trust in someone only to like have them totally shatter it?
Oof, yeah.
It's rough, right?
Yeah.
And it happens to, well, a lot of people, especially in the church.
Yeah, for sure. Hey.
So today we're diving deep into 2 Peter chapters 1-3, which, deals with that whole messy situation.
Sounds intense.
We're going to uncover some like seriously powerful strategies for growing your faith and how to spot those tricky false teachers.
Yeah, like how to avoid the traps.
And ultimately how to keep your eyes on the real prize, Christ.
It's interesting how 2 Peter like tackles this sensitive topic, It weaves together like encouragement and warning.
Yeah.
It doesn't shy away from the darkness, but it like equips you to stand strong even when you come up against those who, distort the truth.
Right off the bat, chapter 1 just hits you with this like powerful dose of optimism. It basically tells us that through Christ, we've already been given like everything we need to live a fulfilling life.
Yeah, and that's huge. Like that's a game changer, right? It shifts the focus from lack to abundance.
Yeah.
It's not about, endlessly striving for God's favor, but recognizing the incredible gifts we already have.
Right.
And using them to fuel our spiritual growth.
And it's interesting, he doesn't just say like be good.
Right.
He gets super specific, lays out these qualities we should be, actively cultivating.
Yeah.
Goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, godliness, mutual affection, and love. It's like a spiritual checklist.
Sometimes, I wonder if we overemphasize like feeling close to God and we forget about the doing part. Do you think these qualities are more about internal feelings or like outward actions?
Ooh, that's good.
Or both?
Yeah, it's got to be both, right? You can't have genuine love without the actions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But the actions have got to like flow from a heart that's already aligned with those values,
And what about knowledge?
Oh, good one.
Is he talking about like just knowing facts about the Bible, or is it something deeper?
I'm thinking it's deeper, like knowledge that like transforms how you see things, how you act.
Exactly. It's about understanding God's character, his plan,
Right.
and how those things should shape our lives.
Then, bam, things take a darker turn in chapter 2.
Oh.
Peter doesn't hold back at all. He warns about these false teachers sneaking in, spreading harmful lies.
That is scary, yeah. Like wolves in sheep's clothing, right?
Yeah.
And the damage they do it's immense, not just to individuals, but to the whole idea of faith.
Right.
Makes you wonder how you can like ever trust anyone again.
Yeah, that betrayal of trust, especially when it's coming from someone claiming to represent Christ, I mean, that can be devastating.
Yeah.
If you've experienced that, it's so important to remember their actions. They don't reflect Christ's true nature.
You're absolutely right. It's so important to see the difference between, fallible humans and the unwavering example of Christ. He came to serve, to save, not to deceive or exploit.
And Peter makes it like crystal clear. These false teachers, they won't get away with it.
Nope.
Their destruction is certain.
It makes you think, right? Like our ultimate accountability, it isn't to other people, but to God.
Right.
It raises this big question. Where do we place our trust?
Yeah.
Are we looking to, fallible humans for guidance? Or are we fixing our eyes on Christ as the ultimate example?
It's almost like 2 different paths,
Yeah.
One leads to disappointment and disillusionment. The other leads to true, lasting hope.
And that brings us to chapter 3, which it like zooms out to this much grander perspective, right? The eventual return of Christ. It's almost like taking a step back from the immediate concern about false teachers and placing it within the epic narrative of God's plan.
So we're moving from like personal betrayal to this cosmic hope.
Precisely. Peter addresses the age-old question of why God seems to delay in fulfilling his promises. He reframes this apparent slowness as an act of incredible patience and love.
Because it gives more people a chance to like repent, turn back to God.
Exactly. And it highlights something so crucial. We often view things from a limited human perspective, but God operates on a completely different timescale, one driven by boundless grace and mercy.
So knowing that Christ will return one day, how does Peter encourage us to live in the meantime?
He urges us to live in a state of readiness, not complacency, so that we are found spotless, blameless, and at peace with God.
Wow.
Imagine that feeling, being completely at peace, knowing you're right with God, no matter what the circumstances.
It's powerful, right? To be ready, not just like in our actions, but in our hearts and minds too. And it makes me think about what we talked about earlier, about those qualities Peter laid out for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just about like avoiding the bad stuff.
Right.
It's about really like actively cultivating a life that reflects Christ's character.
So even when we, face that disappointment, the hurt caused by other people, even when we feel that sting of betrayal, we can choose to respond, well, in a way that honors Christ.
Absolutely. And it's a powerful reminder that our focus shouldn't be on, the failings of humans,
Right.
but on the unwavering faithfulness of Christ. He's like the anchor in the storm.
It's so easy to get caught up in the drama,
Oh, for sure.
to let those negative experiences, cloud our vision.
Yeah.
But Tacky Peter, it calls us to zoom out to see the bigger picture of God's plan unfolding.
And to remember that our time here is, well, temporary. We're living in this in-between space waiting for Christ's return. It's like, we're holding a ticket to something incredible, something that makes all the struggles of this life seem, well, small in comparison.
Knowing that, it changes everything, right?
Totally.
It's not about building like a comfortable life here on earth. It's about preparing for eternity.
Exactly. And that preparation, it isn't about earning our salvation that's already been taken care of through Christ, right? It's about living in a way that honors him, that reflects his love.
That brings us back to those qualities that Peter outlined, those action steps for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
It's like he's giving us this blueprint, for building a life that's unshakable, a life that can withstand any storm.
And that's where it gets really practical, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about good intentions. It's about putting those intentions into action day after day. Goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance. I mean, these aren't just abstract concepts. They're tools for building a solid foundation for our lives.
A foundation that's built on Christ, the rock that never crumbles.
Exactly. It makes me think of that parable about the wise and foolish builders. One builds on sand, the other on rock.
Yeah.
And when the storms come, only one house stands.
Such a powerful image. And it makes me wonder, in the midst of all the noise and chaos of our modern world, what are we building our lives on? What is our foundation?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's not always easy to answer.
Yeah.
We can be so easily distracted by the fleeting things of this world, by the pursuit of success or comfort or even approval from others.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with messages, telling us to focus on our own needs and desires.
And those messages, they can be so seductive, so persuasive. It takes real intentionality, real discipline to resist them.
Yeah.
To keep our eyes fixed on Christ.
And that's where those qualities that Peter outlines, they become so important. Goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance. They're like weapons in our arsenal, helping us to fight against those temptations and distractions.
And remember, we don't have to fight alone. We have the power of the Holy Spirit within us.
Right.
Guiding us, strengthening us, empowering us to live lives that are, well, truly pleasing to God.
It's almost like having a secret weapon.
Yeah.
A source of power that's always available no matter what challenges we face.
Exactly. It's not about relying on our own strength. It's about tapping into the limitless power of God.
And when we do that, when we allow his power to work through us, that's when we really begin to live out the message of 2 Peter, to grow in our faith, to stand firm against falsehood, and to keep our eyes fixed on the one who holds our future. It's funny, we talk about deep dives in this show.
Right.
But Tacky Peter, it's like it calls us to this even deeper dive into our own hypes.
It's that inner transformation, that really matters.
Yeah.
More than anything we do out there in the world.
More than achievements or anything like that.
It's like
polishing the surface versus refining the gold underneath.
That is a great analogy. It's aligning our hearts and minds with God's will. That way, when Christ returns, you're not caught off guard.
Ready.
Yeah, you're ready and waiting.
And it makes me think about all the stuff we get anxious about,
Oh, yeah.
Our plans, our possessions, all the ups and downs.
Right.
Knowing that Christ is coming back, that this isn't all there is.
Yeah.
It puts things in perspective.
Absolutely, it does. It's like having a compass that always points you in the right direction.
Yeah.
No matter how lost you feel, you can always reorient yourself toward that ultimate goal.
So as we're wrapping up our dive into 2 Peter, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
A question you can take with you.
Hit me with it.
If Peter was writing this letter today, in 2024,
okay,
who do you think he would call out as the false teachers in our modern world? Are there ways that we're being exploited or misled.
Yeah.
Even outside of like a traditional church setting.
Wow. That's a good one. It makes you realize that false teaching,
right,
it isn't just some ancient problem. It's something we need to be thinking about every day.
What voices are we listening to? What messages are we absorbing?
What are we letting in?
Are they leading us towards truth and life? Or are they pulling us away?
Yeah, it's almost like a spiritual detox challenge to take a step back.
Yeah.
Look at all the influences in our lives.
What are we reading, watching, listening to?
Yeah, and ask ourselves, is this lining up my heart with Christ or is it pulling me away?
And maybe that's the most important takeaway from 2K Peter.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just avoid the bad stuff.
Right.
We need to be actively cultivating those qualities that draw us closer to Christ.
Totally.
Goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance.
Those are the things that help us discern truth from falsehood, help us stand firm in our faith, and ultimately help us live lives that reflect the love and grace of Christ.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into 2 Peter.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
May you be encouraged to keep growing in your faith, to stay vigilant against those who would mislead you, and to always keep your eyes fixed on Christ.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, keep diving deep.